I'm so happy today to have Danielle Porter here. Thanks for
Hi.
coming. This is kind of funny because like I haven't seen you in literally years,
Yeah,
at least in person.
it's been a very long time.
Yeah,
It took me a minute to remember who you were.
yeah,
I was like, am I gonna die today?
yes. Especially like I tell people who come on the show, like it does appear to be like a serial killer trap sometimes.
Also, I
Like,
looked up your address and I was like, am I going to get murdered?
yeah,
I had to give people like I was like, here's my location. Please don't
yeah.
wait,
Use
make
the
sure I'm here.
you get an air tag or something. No.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, thanks for coming. You are stand-up comedian
I am.
in
Yep.
Portland.
In Portland.
And yeah, I was just gonna, for context for people, I met you because I was working with a guy named Eddie Sue who was working at Bent Image Lab and doing 3D graphics. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm doing comedy. And so I went to a show at Helium and you were there and I met you there. And this
Yes.
was,
Did we sit at a table together? Is that what happened? Were we
we
there to
might have,
support Eddie for his
I
show?
think so.
That
I was also
sounds.
there with a coworker, but we might have all been at one of those little
Yeah.
tiny tables that they have.
Was was that the time that I sat in the front row and my boob popped out?
I don't, I don't exactly remember that. I think I would have remembered that, but
Because it was Eddie's like I think it was his third round. Like he was
yeah.
making it to the semifinals or something, and he oh no, it was the second round, and I was sitting front row in front of all the comics, and I had this really low cut tank top that I had since high school, and
You had since high
that I
school.
had since high school. My
Okay.
grandmother bought it for me, and I
That's
loved
cool.
it.
And I'm not trying to throw shade. I actually have my middle school gym shirt that's still intact.
I
So,
still have t-shirts from I think I have a pair of underwear from middle school
oh my God,
still.
that's like
Yeah,
record time.
I'm small enough that I can still wear all of the clothes that I Oh no, I have a shirt. It's a I cut it into a crop top tank. It is a shirt from when my sister was she did this program called Whiz Bang Science in Colorado,
Okay.
and it is basically like a science camp that you send your kids to.
Yeah.
The shirt says 1995 on it or 98 on it,
Nice.
and I still can fit into it.
That's just cool. Yeah. Somebody was like brought that up recently of like the oldest piece of clothing to have, and I was like, dude, I have this middle school thing, and
Yeah.
that's cool that you have that stuff
I
too.
wore it in front of my other sister and she's like, "This you the I can't believe this still fits you." Like how
But that was the offending piece of
No,
clothing. Is that what
I
you're saying?
wish that was the offending piece of
Okay.
clothing. No, that was just a trip down memory lane for a second. No, it was a black tank top like spaghetti strap, and I'd just been wearing it for so long and it got stretched out and stuff. And so I was sitting in the front row and I always had to like pull it up and like knot it and stuff. And I guess it just went too low and my boob was just hanging
Was
out for the whole entire
the
show.
whole show?
And
Okay.
Eddie was on stage and clearly saw my boob was out because they put me at the front, they put me
Yeah.
in the bowl at the
Yeah.
front. And then um, after the round, like Eddie lost and he was like in a mooder and like we were just like chatting with people. And then we're just like I was talking to this cute guy and then he just goes, um, your boob is out? And I was
Eddie said or the guy said
No,
it?
the guy said it.
Okay.
Eddie, I asked Eddie, I was like, Eddie, did you know that my boob was out? He's like, yeah. And I was like, why didn't you say anything? And he went, well, I thought you were going for a look. I was like, what
A
look,
look,
look is
the
that?
look of what was the Super Bowl moment? That look,
The Janice
the
Jackson?
Janet Jackson. Yeah,
He was my Justin Timberlake.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's funny because I was actually thinking before you got here, I was trying to think of a question of like most embarrassing moment, just like in life in general, and that sounds like that would be pretty embarrassing.
I
But
I feel like that's one of them, but I don't know. I have
you just
ADHD. I have a lot of
you
them.
just rolled with it. Yeah.
I just and I was just like I just like zipped my jacket up after that and I was like I guess they can be free in here. It was so
Okay.
it w- looking back at it, it's a very funny story, but in the moment it was very like oh wow, I was just walking around Helium Comedy Club in front of
Yeah.
like managers and people trying to impress them and I was just had one boob out the whole time, which could be a power move.
It could be a play, yeah, a certain type of play that power move. Yeah, I was gonna kind of ask you, yeah, just how you got into doing it. It sounds like you're doing it pretty often now. You said like four
Yeah,
or five times a month.
I try to go out maybe 3 to 5 days a week and I have, between 4 to 6 shows a month kind of thing. So a little slower than I would like to be, but like I think I'm like getting my footing and more now. I started doing comedy basically because of the 2016 election. That sounds so lame to say, but
No, it's fun. That's interesting. Yeah.
I got really I like started like hyper fixating on the Daily Show and I got really into political satire. And so I just started just being really obsessed with it and wanting to write a lot of comedy. And I had a friend who I met off of Tinder. We both loved comedy and so we bonded over that. And so I started doing my own political YouTube series. I will not give you any details on it. It is
Okay.
very hidden
Okay.
because it is very bad. I once showed it to like a Tinder date and he was like, "Don't ever show this to anybody."
It's
Um,
okay. All of us content creators have that old shit that we don't
yeah,
want
well, and it's locked, but it was called the 5 minute filibuster because it was my sister's idea to call it
to. I think
that.
that's a good name,
It is
actually.
a good
Yeah.
name. It's just the content is just kind of
It was early.
very
Yeah.
early. I was very camera shy. It like I'm a very nervous person, so it was like a very out of my comfort zone sort of thing. So like you can tell in
Yeah.
the
You can
videos for
read
sure.
that. Yeah.
And then I kept doing segments that John Oliver was doing, but like it was like I didn't realize that he until I had actually cut it together that I was like, oh, we just did one also on third party candidates because this is a hot topic issue,
Mm.
but his is better. But yeah, so basically I was doing the political satire and it just wasn't going the way I wanted it to
Okay.
go. And so I was just like, maybe I should try stand up. And then I slowly, and by slowly, I mean like tortoise pace
Right.
started doing stand up. I like had another friend who we like sat and like wrote out and we wrote out bits together and then like we practiced them in front of each other for like a solid week and then we decided to hit an open mic and the first open mic that we decided to hit was the helium open mic because we didn't know the rules and so we both signed up and then he got on and I didn't and then we were like, oh, I had no idea that it was a lottery sort
Yeah.
of
Like you
thing.
thought you were gonna go up for sure, and then
Yes. And so what ended up happening was the week after that there was another like there's open mics all the time. So there was another open mic at a different venue called Brody Theater, which is
I
no
remember the
longer
Brody.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually one of my old guests, Brett. She used
Yeah.
to do comedy there before they closed down. But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Because it was Brody Theater and then Kickstand was renting the space before the
yeah.
pandemic. And
And then
then
now they're trying to find a new space or something, right? Or
they have a new
okay,
space. It's the old there it was so the it's on Hawthorne. It like the Toffee House is what it used to be. It was
okay.
like a bar, like a
I think I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
kind of like a I don't want to say British, but like a European sort
Mm-hmm.
of bar.
Mm.
And then they turned that into the space for Kickstand. And before it was a bar, it was a strip club. So that's fun. So it's got some nice roots.
And have you done sets there or anything yet?
I haven't, but one of my best friends is like she works with Kickstand. She does comedy in the park, Julia
Yeah.
Corral, and she does a Saturday show there.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll like go that way and try to like check it out.
Yeah, because I haven't. I'm not super. I used to work with Dylan years ago, and I don't know if he
Hmm.
still runs it,
Yeah, he does.
but yeah, I was just trying to like piece. Is their main thing improv or?
It is. It
Okay,
is improv, but they're branching into more stand up and stuff,
that's
and
cool.
they're doing comedy classes right now.
Oh wow,
Julia's teaching 2 beginner level comedy classes, and then Stephen Wilbur is teaching like the level 2 class, and then
that's cool. Because
yeah.
one, I don't know. I always ask the few comedy people on here. It's just like, is it weird just only having helium? I mean, I know there's like Curious and like I don't know. There's like
Yeah,
more,
it
but
is. I think because like if you talk to people like up in Seattle, like they have like 5 clubs, and
mhm.
so it's just like everybody is working the clubs, but like in Portland, it's like we all have bar shows and stuff like that because
Yeah,
there's only one club. I hope that we get more clubs eventually, but Helium is the current because Harvey's closed during the
yeah,
pandemic as
yeah,
well. They do like pop-up shows now instead, but
yeah.
yeah, so it's been a lot of
It's not that, yeah. Hopefully that, and I said, I love what Dylan's doing. Hopefully that's like a good competitor to Helium, another space for people.
well, it's down the street from Helium.
Yeah, you
So
could
it's
just go
like
to both.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically I think it's like yeah, they were calling it like the comedy block or something. That's what
Oh
people
yeah,
have been
yeah,
calling it
yeah,
because you have all of this comedy, right? Because you have Funhouse, then you have Helium, and then you have Kickstand.
yeah.
So
And you
they're
can
all walkable.
pretty much, yeah, walk to all those.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry I kind of derailed this, but like, were you terrified when you?
Oh, so terrified
Because
when I
like
started.
I've never done it at all,
Hmm.
and the way you were just describing it sounds interesting. If like you just do a little rehearsal in front of your friends, and then eventually you do your first open mic.
Yeah, I mean, personally, at this point, so I've been doing it for almost 6 years, and I personally think that it is a good idea to take a comedy class if you are nervous. If you're not nervous, go to an open mic. That's totally fine. But if you're nervous, sign up for a comedy class because it's like a safe environment to learn how to write comedy.
Hmm.
And also, if you take a comedy class, you sidestep all of those like struggles of figuring out how to write jokes. And so I didn't do that. I waited about 4 years to take a comedy class, and then I took two comedy classes from Arlo Warehouser at Siren Theater. And Arlo won like PFP and like I want to say 2014, 2016,
Okay.
somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Um, and like so like I got to learn a lot from somebody who like really knows their shit. So sorry, can I swear?
Yeah. So yeah.
So it like that's the benefit of it. For me, like trying to like get into the mic world was really scary. And like the first time I did comedy with my friend, um, when we both got to do it, after that, I waited, I want to say like 3 months to go again. And then
Oh
I
yeah.
waited again another 3 months after that. So the first time I started doing stand up was in like 2018, but I didn't like continuously do it till like December of
Mhm.
2018. So like it was like early 2018, and then I fully like immersed myself in it after that. But it is like one of those things where it definitely, if you're if you're a nervous person or you have stage fright, like it does take you a bit longer to get like in the groove of it. And like
Mhm.
I would go, I knew all of the like I'd see all the open mics online because there's always like a website. Like right now we have Laughs PDX is the,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, so it basically
For
has
booking open mics or just any
for
going?
just all the open mics, just the locations, the times. It has all the shows too. It's run by this guy named Reese Hendricks, and he's just been building the Last PDX website, and it's like a really great resource for new people who are trying to learn where to go for comedy.
Mhm.
So we had something similar to that before the pandemic. It was just run by somebody else, and basically I knew where all of them were, and so like there was like a Funhouse mic on Wednesdays because Funhouse used to have a Wednesday mic, and I remembered like driving there, being like prepared and ready to go up to the stage, and then I just sat in my car and just watched people go in because I was too scared
Mhm.
to go. So it did take me, it took me like, it took like a friend of mine being like me drunk one night telling him about how much I want to try stand up. And
Mhm.
he's like, here's what we're gonna do. There's an open mic by my house. We're all gonna go hang out at my house the day of the open mic. We're gonna get drunk. We're gonna smoke weed. We're gonna have a good time. And then we're gonna go and watch you do comedy. And I was like, that sounds fucking terrible. I don't like that idea. And then he was cute and he made me do it. So I was like, "Ugh,
It
okay."
was like a peer
It was a
pressure
very
kind of
peer pressure
thing.
sort of thing. And then after that, I think I went like once or twice without him. And then I just started going all the time. And like, I'd beg my friends to go with me. And then, like, you hit a certain point where your friends are like, this is boring for me because I
Right.
don't like this. So I'm not going to
Right.
come anymore.
Yeah.
So then I just waited a while till I made friends.
That's fun. And so that the Funhouse one was that was the very first one? Is that or that was when
No,
you
Brody
came
Theater
back?
was the very first
Okay, I
one.
see.
The Funhouse one probably when I went to do the Funhouse one, that was probably after my second time of doing
Okay.
stand up. But I didn't make it in the door that time, and I think I like circled the block a couple times, and I was just like, because I didn't know if it was a mix mic because it wasn't clear, and I was like, I don't want to do comedy, and everybody else is doing poetry and
Yeah,
singing,
yeah,
and also Funhouse had all those had the clown room, and I didn't know that the
yeah.
clown room, like I thought the clown room was the stage room, and like so it was just like I hate clowns, and so it was just like
Okay.
it was very nerve-wracking for me. I know that's bad to say because there's a ton of clowns in Portland, but I didn't like clowns back then,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was like one of those things where I was like, this all sounds really scary, and I'm very nervous, and I don't know how to handle the situation, so I'm just gonna drive home.
Yeah. It is weird because I sort of used to know that guy. I think Andy is his name. He runs
Yeah,
that
Andy.
place. And I've been there a few times, but it what weirds me out there is and like I like what they do, but it's like you were saying, they do so much other stuff. Like they do
Yeah,
those like full shows and
yeah.
stuff, and so
And
for
that's
some
just like part of them now. It's like they remodeled the space,
do
so
they
it
okay.
doesn't, they got rid of like the stage is like probably about as thick as this table. It's so
Okay.
thin. So you're like, but then they like adjusted it so that like the audiences are like kind of higher up. So it works out that way.
Hmm.
But it is definitely like you'll come in and the room will be set up for like a play and everything because that's just,
That's what they do, yeah.
that's one of their main things. Andy loves theater, so,
Hmm.
stand up is there as well. And we're like third best, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's cool though. And then eventually, I mean, you eventually just got to the point where you kind of felt just compelled to like do this every week or every other day or whatever. Has
Yeah,
it been?
well, like I said, I have ADHD, so I just get really obsessed really easily. And so I was just hyper fixating on comedy, and it was just what I did. I spent like, I did the grind where you go every single day, you go every night, like you're out till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Hmm.
And I did that. Like, I was trying to make friends with higher up comics in the scene. And so I'd go out, I'd hang out, I'd go do a mic, I'd bomb, and then I'd go and hang out with these comics. And then I would realize it's 5 in the morning and I needed to drive to work. And I was a nanny. So I got to, it was a chill-ish. I was really sleepy a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But
You can kind of do it with a little sleep, yeah, and all that stuff.
yeah, and like when the baby was sleeping, I'd be sleeping
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. Yeah. So it was just like, it was just like one of those things where it was just like ingrained in me. And it wasn't until the pandemic where I had to really slow down and be like, hey, I can't be out every single night
Yeah,
of the week
yeah.
anymore.
And I'm curious about what you did there, but I want to pepper in one of these dumb questions
Yeah.
because I've been burning to ask somebody on the show this. I've asked people like at my work and stuff, but so I might need to refine this question though because everyone has the same answer. But if you could live forever
Okay.
by eating your own boogers like in public, like you have to do it in front of people, and there's one more condition. It would make you kind of look like Emperor Palpatine, like you'd be super old looking and like decrepit. Would you go for that? Would you want to live forever?
No, because I lather myself in sunscreen every day because
Right.
I want to look young.
Okay.
Like I went to a bar a while back and like the bartender asked to see my ID and he looked at my ID and he's like, "You look good for 29." I'm like, "Sir, you're like in your 40s. How can you say that to me?" So I don't think I would be on
You're
board with that. I don't think I want to live forever if I'm gonna look wrinkly.
okay. That's pretty much the responses. Like most people will be like, "Yeah, I do it," and then when I tell them they look like that, they're like, "No, I don't think I would do it."
No, because like I've been getting really into like SPF and like making sure that like because that's how you get wrinkles is because you don't wear
Is
sunscreen.
that right?
Yeah,
I'm probably pretty fucked then because
probably.
I I kind of I don't want to say I don't believe in it, but like I used to do like river floats every year,
Yeah.
and I'd purposely just be like, no, I'm just gonna get a nice sunburn going on, and sometimes I get really
That
burned,
sounds so painful.
but
I've had some of the worst sunburns because I refuse to wear I
yeah,
don't like the texture of
me
sunscreen. So
neither.
it's
Yeah,
like what I started doing actually is I bought some sunscreen and it's like such a like a thick texture for me, which makes sense because it's like blocking.
yeah,
But I like to mix it with some aloe vera, which
okay,
you're gonna put on yourself anyway after you burn.
yeah,
So it like lathers onto your skin versus like you're like scraping it onto
right. You're
your
like moving
skin.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's been like making it more it makes it better for me to want to wear sunscreen, but I'm very like I got really into like the TikTok like beauty
oh
algorithm and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that and like I'm like very into like the Korean skincare now and so like
And that's what they are saying is the SPF stuff.
yeah, like all the dermatologists are like you need to be wearing sunscreen. Like it's very
Interesting.
important to be wearing sunscreen.
Just
So
to block all the UV stuff, basically.
to block all the UVs and also just to like help you not get skin cancer.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
mainly, I think the one is like they're like you don't want to get like it's a treatable cancer, but
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to get
It's
like yeah,
It's probably, yeah, something I should. I always heard because I have a lot of moles, and people are. I
yeah,
always heard, and I went to a dermatologist to get some removed once, and I think I was reading online or something, or maybe they told me, but they're like, if you have over like 25 on your
yeah,
body, you're like more prone to skin cancer. But like I said, I haven't gave a fuck for years, so
yeah.
I'm probably.
You might be okay.
I
I
don't
mean, my
know.
friend Ross, he got skin cancer last year, and like
Really?
it was like on his thigh where like the sun like he always wears pants, so I don't even
Right.
know how like
Yeah.
that's how like white he is as a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
that he got skin cancer from wearing jeans and I'm just like I'm gonna just wear sunscreen now.
Okay.
That's what I've been
Okay.
taught.
That's funny because I was gonna ask you about. I'm always, and maybe this parlays into your what you did during COVID stuff, but
Hmm.
I'm always fascinated with like how comedians, because I've always loved comedy and I've been making comedy videos since way back. But um, like I'm just curious how the whole I call it like the TikTok comedian generation, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, how do you feel about that? And like, did did that
Well,
change how you did comedy and stuff?
I think for me, like I've always I feel like the TikTok thing is like what the YouTubers and Viners did. It's just like a later version of
It's
those
like a more
things.
compressed or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like less vlogging and like more like quick, like
Hmm.
3 minute video stuff. And so like I think Vine really opened the door with that because you had 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You had 6 seconds, 6 to 10 seconds. I think they increased it to 10 or something. So you didn't have a lot of time to like fuck around. And I think that TikTok kind of did that same thing during the pandemic and people just didn't know, they didn't they were locked in their homes and like there's so many people who got big because they just were like, well, I'm bored, I might as well make a video about how bored I
Hmm.
am right now. And so you got like that TikToker that did like bored in the house, like all
Hmm.
of those
And
sorts
there's
of
all the like
things.
the face swapping like funny guys. I don't know
Yeah.
people. I like how inventive people got with it, but
I what I like about doing like those silly videos and sketches and stuff is like for me, because I do some too, but I do more like I'm talking at the camera and like here's a story sort of thing. Like I did. Um, I didn't get very many views, but I did one about how I did mushrooms for a third date.
okay.
And I just talked about the experience and how I basically, it was a terrible idea. Like, don't do mushrooms for a third date because basically, like, it ended up being like things got read into and then like I just like was already feeling uncomfortable and like I barely knew this guy. We chose to do mushrooms and like you learn so much about a person and who like they are. And I learned nothing about this man, but this man learned a lot about
About you,
me.
yeah.
So cuz I did more mushrooms than him and I also when we decided to do mushrooms, I was planning to not do like I was planning to microdose and then he kind of peer pressured me into taking more.
It's like a full dose, yeah.
Yeah, and then we were drinking on top of that, and we were just so fucked up, and, like, I ended up, like, staying at his place, and, like, I was, like, sleeping, but I wasn't, like I was still conscious, basically, but my eyes were closed,
Okay.
and I had, like, a full-on psychosis,
It's like an
like,
out of body experience kind of thing or something.
not even out of body, I think it was more just, like, I was inside my head,
Okay.
and so, like, it was dark, and I was, like, having all of these anxious thoughts coming to the surface, and I couldn't really fully, like, shut my mind down, and so, you know how, like, you're drifting off to sleep and you have all those thoughts running through
Hmm.
your head?
Hmm.
It was like that, and basically, it just wouldn't stop, and so I started, like, having, like, the weirdest thoughts, and then I started crying.
It's just a full
Full psychosis, like,
episode
I
or
just
something, yeah.
started crying, and then he heard me, and then he shushed me and then rolled on top of me like I was a like he was a weighted blanket, just, like, to be like, "You gotta calm down
Wow.
now."
Okay.
And then I thought that was so funny, so I just started laughing, like, so like, you could hear me laughing, so it sounded like I was, like, cursed or something. It was so loud, and I was cackling, and I was laughing, and he just wakes up and he goes, "Oh my God," and I'm like a crazy people pleaser, so I was just like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I can go to the couch," and then, like, it was just, like, every emotion and, like, I barely like, if I had known this person, I think it'd be a different situation, but, like, it was just, like, too many layers. He was British. It was just too many layers.
British.
So I basically put that out
Uh,
onto TikTok
like you did
and
like a recap of
pretty much, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because at first I thought I thought this was just a parody that you like made up.
God, that would be funnier. That
Yeah.
would be funnier if I reacted it out
That
with
is that
somebody.
is a wild because yeah, I've done it with like good friends of mine and like ex-girlfriends and stuff,
Yeah.
and that even that's like difficult to do.
Yeah, I've done mushrooms with a varying amount of people. Like the first time I did mushrooms with was with like a bunch of comics, which I we were all friends, but they were assholes. So it was like
Yeah,
it was one of those experiences where it's like, oh, I should not have done mushrooms with these
it's
people for my
I
first
could see how that'd be
time.
weird because yeah, you're kind of like probably kind of roasting each other, and you're like, Are you like
Yeah, and then
being
I'm
real right
extra
now?" Or like, yeah,
sensitive, and then like yeah, like every year Julia Corral like does Thanksgiving at her house, and we will do mushrooms after usually, and like she um she doesn't drink anymore, but when she was drinking, like we did mushrooms one year, and she just like kept coming in and berating me, and I just couldn't. handle it because she'd be like, "Why did you put this stupid movie on?" And I was like, "I didn't. Somebody else suggested it. Why are you picking on me?" So it's like one of those
Too much
things where it's like you
anxiety.
have to, yeah,
Yeah.
like you have to be in the right mindset, and like most of the time I am, but like if you're in the wrong mindset, then it's like
Hmm.
it's such a terrible
And
idea.
as you know, yeah, you're there, you're in that trip for like 4 hours, so you're kind of stuck
Well, and
for.
I took more, so I
Mm.
was in it probably for like 6 to 7
Yeah, yeah.
hours. Like it was more like an acid sort of experience. And then after that, I didn't get any sleep, so I was sleep deprived the next day. So I was still fucked up the next day, and I like couldn't function.
Mm.
And I like I put on The Parent Trap because it's like one of my feel good
Which
shows.
one? Oh,
The second one, like the
90s
remake.
one?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Lindsay
yeah.
Lohan. That I mean, I've watched the other one, but
I get confused now because we were talking about this a couple weeks at work, and there's another one coming out, right?
is there?
I believe there's another one.
Well,
And so now I'm gonna be even more confused, but anyway.
that I wonder if it's gonna it's the premise doesn't work anymore. If it's like
Right.
it doesn't
I think
it
that's what we were talking about. We're like the whole nobody gets back together, like, and the kids aren't gonna.
nobody gets back together because they broke up for a reason. I'm on this like self inner healing kick sort of thing, and like I'm just like learning all of this stuff and like watching it, I'm like, this is actually a pretty toxic movie.
Yes.
But also it's like if you had like this situation happening now, like what if your kid decided to just go buy a 23andMe? Like they'll find out that they have a sibling.
Yeah.
And I saw this I was on like Bumble, and this guy like put like The Parent Trap is actually like kind of a terrible movie because like obviously those parents told them that their parents died.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't think that. I've never thought that until now, and you ruined one of my favorite movies now. But I was watching it and I was still high out of my mind. And so I have like a complicated relationship with both of my parents. So I'm just like crying when she's like talking about how much she loves her dad. And she's like, a kid's first word is dad, dad. And I'm like, yes. And I'm just like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, what is wrong with you? This isn't even that good.
And
And
this is still this Thanksgiving, right? Is that what you're saying?
no, this was the day
Oh,
after the mushroom trip with that guy.
oh,
So this
okay.
was
The
maybe
third
like,
day, I think.
yeah, this might have been like 3 months ago now or something.
Hmm.
2 months ago, probably even shorter than
Oh
that.
wow,
I have
yeah,
no
okay.
concept of time.
Okay. That's funny though. I was thinking when you were saying that, what do you think about like, because I've worked with some people who are not, what am I trying to say, sober comics,
Yeah.
and like I really appreciate what they do, but I just could never. Because it's such a late night thing, and I'm
Yeah.
you know I drink, I smoke weed, like
Yeah.
I just don't understand how people could be in that environment without.
Well, so I do comedy sober
Okay.
with some Adderall in my system and some
Mm-hmm.
caffeine
Well, for the ADHD as
for the
well. Yeah.
ADHD. Yeah. So, when I first started doing comedy, that night that my friend, I got so fucked up. And then the next week I did it, I got fucked up again. And then the week after that, I got fucked up again. And I felt worse, and
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't feel like I had like I already knew I didn't have good stage presence and everything like that. So I was like, something like isn't working here for me. Like I don't think I can like drink and do comedy. So obviously it was the new year. It was the start of, I want to say, 2019 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go 60 days because 30 days is lame. I'm going to go 60 days without drinking and see if that, if I
Mm-hmm.
can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I could. I'm not a super big drink. That's not my vice. Mine
Yeah,
is
yeah.
love bombing and all of that other stuff. But
Okay.
so yeah, so when I started doing stand up, I went 60 days without drinking, and like preferred being on stage sober, and I
Mm-hmm.
still do. Like every once in a while I'll have a drink on before going on stage, but like I don't like how it makes me
Yeah,
feel. Like it
and I
doesn't.
and I get that. Yeah, I guess more what I'm saying is I just don't eat like even after you do a set,
Yeah.
like just having a drink or something. I just don't understand how people could
Well, sometimes I
do that.
do,
But
but most of the I also don't like drinking and driving.
yeah,
So
right.
for
Obviously.
me, it's just like I would, because I don't like that, like I just don't end up I
Yeah.
kind of drink alone at home if I'm drinking, or like I like make sure that like I'm in proximity to my home or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um and like the whole reason why I ended up having to stay at that guy's house was because I was too drunk and he
Mm.
drove, sort of thing. So it's like one of those things where it's like for me, like I would at that point rather like if I'm gonna drink, I'll call an Uber sort of thing. But also alcohol is really expensive now.
It
So
is,
it's like
yeah,
a good like
it
I
is,
save a lot of money,
yeah.
which is good because I'm unemployed. So
Yeah. Um, what I was thinking, what about for like joke writing and stuff? Do you ever just smoke weed or whatever just to help with that, or do you find it's better just sober?
I don't really, the older I'm getting, the more I don't really like to like I have to be in like a very specific mindset to smoke weed or like like I'll probably drink a little bit more than I do smoke weed. Like and every once in a while I'll have an edible, but like I don't know, like I used to really like weed and then I woke up one morning and I was just like, I feel awful.
Hmm.
And so I just like I'm usually pretty sober when I'm writing and like the way I kind of write is either I sit down and I'll write at like a coffee shop or
Hmm.
something, or something will happen to me and then I'll just like write it out in like a note and then try it later on
On
stage sort of
on your
thing.
phone or just
Yeah, on my
okay,
phone.
yeah,
I'm not one of those comics who has like a notebook because I've never been a notebook person.
yeah.
I've had people like buy me notebooks. I'm like, they're just gonna sit there blank. You might as well keep it for
Yeah,
yourself.
it does seem like more steps because I
Yeah.
I try to do that like with my Google Keep or whatever,
Hmm.
and it's just like a brain muscle. Like I have to try to be
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna write this down now because otherwise, and it's just frustrating even for my stupid little jokes that I'll be
Yeah.
like, I had one and I should have wrote it down and I forgot it, but I'm getting better at putting those in
Or
there.
it'll be like you're at an inconvenient moment. Like I'll get a lot of shower thoughts, and then I'm like, oh, I need like a notepad and like I need
Yeah.
like a whiteboard or something in the shower, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna do that. So it's just
Mm.
like I'll lose the joke, and then I'll be like, what was that joke? And I'll like try to piece it back together,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Reassemble it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me about what did you do when COVID happened? Did you just you tried that
Yeah.
video stuff for a while and
So what I did during COVID was for like the first I don't know. I after because like right when COVID like got when they decided to shut down the city, I was in Colorado. So my sisters and I we had to fly back from Colorado to get to Portland before they shut everything down completely. And then I was living alone in a studio apartment. So the beginning of my COVID was I had like a couple of friends that I was just consistently hanging out with and like I did a lot of mushrooms during COVID.
really? Okay.
Yeah, because I got a mushroom hookup during COVID, so I did a lot of mushrooms during COVID. Um, I would mix mushrooms and edibles together.
Hmm.
I did a lot of cooking in the beginning, and I would just like take videos and post that online and stuff like
Okay.
that. I was trying to get really into TikTok, and then I was in a really unhealthy friendship, and this person like she's like, I'm deleting my TikTok because they work with China or something like
Yeah.
and then like she like kind of shamed me into deleting my TikTok.
Oh, okay.
So then I was off of TikTok for a little while and then I decided to make another TikTok later on in the pandemic. So it was a lot of just like being alone in the beginning and then I started like creating like a pandemic pod that I spent most of my
Okay.
time
I
with.
was gonna ask you about yeah, because you have is that the one you still kind of do, or is there you have a podcast of some kind, right? Or
I d- I said pod, but like a group
oh,
of
okay,
people.
different kind of pod, yeah.
I have had podcasts. I don't think I currently have a podcast. I had a podcast with my friend Clancy Kramer. They just will every once in a while will create a new podcast or just change the name of the podcast that they have. So we were doing a kind of like an alt sort of sketch podcast
Mm, mm,
called the what was it called? It was the Dictionary 2, the
mm.
sequel to the dictionary.
Okay.
And it was basically
That's kind
like
of funny.
we
Yeah.
were writing our own in like our own like phrases and words
Mm,
in the dictionary. And the joke was basically Merriam-Webster asked Clancy to write a sequel to the dictionary.
mm.
But Clancy had pissed off all of the like affiliates, all like the FBI, the CIA, like all of the acronyms. And so they needed to basically have an editor. And I was their editor to keep them in line.
Okay.
And
That's an
essentially
interesting, yeah, like concept
yeah,
podcast. Yeah.
yeah, and we did a bunch of episodes, but they just never it never was like exactly what Clancy wanted. So Clancy was just like, I'm doing this other thing now. And I was like, okay. Cause I don't know. Like,
You were just
I
participating.
just
Yeah.
showed up
Yeah.
basically, and
Yeah.
they were like, this is what we're doing. And like, we had all of our friends on, and they all just did characters and stuff. And there was like a weird, we had like some weird inside jokes about me that I don't like, so I'm not gonna say them.
Okay. Yeah. No, sorry.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, so it was just like one of those things where I was like, we did that for probably like 6 months or so, but we only put out like maybe like 4 or 5 episodes where we
Okay.
did it.
Yeah.
But that was the podcast that I had. I think all of those episodes are still out there.
Okay.
But no, I don't currently have a podcast. I don't think I have the energy to do a pod. This is a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do stand up as well, so that's like
Yeah.
you're, you know, actually out of the house.
Yeah,
Um,
a little bit sometimes.
and I say that because, I filmed this in my house, that's why. But so yeah, in what point did it like was there a moment when like Helium was like, we're back, you can start doing
Yeah, I think it was, when things started to open back up, there was like parking lot mics and people
Oh,
were
right,
starting
right.
to be outdoor, like
Remember some outdoor, yeah, shows.
comedy in the park occurred because they couldn't do comedy indoors. And so then like my friend Brent Lowry, he started the parking lot mic that was like across the river from OMSI, and it
Okay.
was just like this dirt parking lot. And he got like a little canopy and had like a generator, and then people would sit in their cars and honk
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
instead of laugh.
Yeah.
But then everybody started getting out of their cars because they were like, this, we need human
Yeah,
interaction.
you might
So it
as
was,
well.
you had an audience,
Yeah, and
and then
you're
you had the comics
outside
who were
and
all out of the car just
yeah.
hanging out. And then Helium, I think probably when I remember, so somebody was like filming like a PSA, or like a here's how to interact in Helium sort of video with COVID standards, and I got asked to be like one of the extras in it. And so we were just like filming that, and like it was like, eat your food but then put your mask back on, laugh with your mask on, all
Yeah.
of these
It's like
like
a plain
precautions.
instructional video kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like the airport, like the airplane
Yeah,
videos, like
yeah.
basically like that. And so essentially I think after that Helium was like back open at that point, but it was like small groups of
Yeah, it was like half
people.
capacity or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So and I think they did that for probably like 6 months or so. And then like things started opening up more. And then there like more bar shows started popping up. And like Covert Cafe had like an outdoor space. So there was like outdoor open mics there for a while. And so like there were very specific venues that had outdoor spaces where they were like comfortable to do comedy. And then I think once it started to get colder, we were just like, we have to move inside. So just put on your
Yeah.
mask. And then slowly things started to open back up. And then they opened the city back up. And we're all like, we're just going to keep going. I think at that point, most comics were like, we're probably going to get COVID, but like, we
Yeah.
want to be out.
Right.
We're done being locked in our
Yeah.
houses.
And was there a time when it was because I always hear from people where you didn't do shows for however I don't know how long 6 months or whatever, and then you had this rusty period of like
Yeah, well, yeah, I was bad before the pandemic, so I was still, I was even rustier, and I was like PTSD and so sad, and like I went through a really bad friend breakup during the pandemic
yeah,
too. So
yeah,
like I had all of these different layers. So for a while my comedy was really sad. Like one of the first jokes that I think I started to like get a laugh from was I just said that I have high functioning depression, which all it means is I can work really, really hard all day long and then go and cry in my car.
mm,
And then I'm like, I work from home. And that always got like this huge
people just yeah,
laugh. And so like that was like probably one of the first jokes that I wrote that was decent.
yeah,
The most of the time I was just kind of complaining on stage,
right.
and there was no punchline to it. So I've gotten better, I
So yeah,
swear.
but
But
yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like yeah, your craft as it is now was shaped over the past like 4 years or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Like I think I was learning the basics for so long, and then I took those comedy classes and I was able to really like pick up some steam because of that, because I understood how to write it. Like I had a friend who was like Very nice. Love her to death. But she was really drunk one night and she's like, I don't think you know how to write a punchline. And I was like, I think you're right.
Just have to be honest at that point.
Yeah.
I was thinking, do you ever think like I don't know what like most comedians like path is or whatever,
Hmm.
but I would imagine at some point you would want to do a special.
I mean, I don't think I'm at all anywhere
Like
close to that, but
what
like
did how long of sets are you doing right now?
I do between like 15 to 20.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I almost have about 30 minutes worth of material. It's I'm still like opener level. Like I barely have done feature spots for like bar shows.
Yeah.
So like I think I've definitely improved a lot and I would love to get to a point where I could like eventually film a special, but I don't see that happening for probably like 10
It's a
years.
while. Yeah.
It's a
It's a
while down the
long
line.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I'd like to like, feature more and like go on the road more is more
Okay.
where like that's my goal currently is to like be able to get booked and do like a theater show.
Yeah. Do some travel up and down the Northwest or
Yeah.
wherever, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I was just wondering that because I just feel like there's so many more. I see this path now of people just going straight to YouTube, self-publishing a
Yeah.
special, but I understand what you're saying too of like
Well, and
that's your long-term
I
thing.
think also like some people jump the gun before they're ready
Yeah,
to put out a special and
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
I don't want to do that either. And also I don't even know if the jokes that I'm doing right now would be the jokes I'm going to be doing in like 3 years from now. Like you just like don't
Yeah.
sometimes people comics just put down a joke. So it's like
Hmm.
there's some stuff that I've definitely come back to. Like there was a joke that I was working on about my dad for a really long time that I couldn't make funny and I finally just made funny. So it's like one of those things where you're like
It just takes time
you just got
and
to find the pieces of it.
yeah, that's interesting. I was gonna ask. These are kind of just stupid topical stuff.
Mhm.
What do you think about the Olympics?
I mean, I think it's great that those people are able to throw a shot put and swim a distance, but
They got breakdancing now.
oh,
I
that's
hear.
okay. That's great. Yeah, no, I've never been skilled in any of those things, and I just think at this point that like I feel like the Olympics were meant to bring people together, and I don't think that's
Yeah.
the case. And also it costs like billions of dollars to like build it out, these
Yeah.
arenas,
Yeah.
and then like they leave and then it's poverty for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So I
I know that
just
happened in Rio. They built all this shit and then
yeah.
they just left it and
And
it's all
John Oliver did a
abandoned.
segment on it and I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, they could have that could be housing or something, like it
Hmm.
could be used for something, but instead it's
It's
just
just
like this.
concrete. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I don't know. I think like if they did it in a more sustainable way, maybe I would be more intrigued, but
But I mean, like, you've never, like, you didn't grow up, like, watching it
no,
every
I
year.
did. No, I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
So I'm from Colorado Springs. We had the Olympic Training Center.
Oh,
I
okay.
lived 4 blocks away from the Olympic Training Center. I had a best friend who was training to become a wrestler for the Olympics. Like,
Is that's just their national thing where they go or
yeah,
what?
that's the Olympic Training Center was Colorado Springs was chosen for the location for the Olympic Training Center.
Okay.
Like, you drive by, you'd see like the little Olympic thing, like the
Logo.
fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was
I've never been to Colorado Springs, by the way,
it's fine.
but
It I think it tries to be like Portland.
yeah.
I hope.
It's like a mini Denver kind of, yeah.
I'd say more Boulder,
Boulder.
probably.
Okay.
Mini
It's like
Boulder.
it's like an alternative kind of
Yeah,
community.
I think it's changed a bunch, but I also don't go back very often.
Yeah.
Last time I went back, I was like, there's a lot more buildings downtown than there used to be.
Yeah.
So, they put like the offices for the Olympic Training Center downtown too. Like they built that a while back as well. So
That's why I just never knew that they
I
had
think
something
it's
like
pretty
that. So it's got to be like
hidden.
an anchor of the economy there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty hidden, honestly. Like I think people like voted on it or something, and like that's
Hmm.
why. But I was like, I think I was probably like 7 or something, and like I saw we like went and like sat in a parking lot because somebody was running with the torch
Yeah.
through to get to the Olympics. So like I grew up around it. I just, like my parents were really into the Olympics and like we would put it on and my mom would be watching
Yeah.
it. But like I don't know. I just think that like with the way the Olympics is and like the detriment a lot of these people have gone through, I just, I don't know if I want to support it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. It's a weird thing because I do feel like it's like fading from culture. Like I haven't watched any of it
Yeah.
yet. I know I used to watch the parade thing because
I
I
guess
just,
Snoop Dogg was
yeah, he had the like
yeah.
joint torch thing,
Yeah.
but Yeah, no, I feel like it's not as important as it used to be, and like a lot of the problems you pointed out. I was actually talking to a guy I work with who lived in France for a long time. He was
Hmm.
just there like a month or two ago, and he was saying, obviously, it's like if you live there, it's just like, what is this shit? Like,
Yeah.
this is disrupting our life for like a month, and
Yeah.
like they can't get to work and stuff, and but I don't know. It's just a weird
And
thing
they
that,
thought the protests were bad.
yeah, yeah. Um, this is a really bad transition, but the next thing on here is, have you tried Raising Cane's chicken?
Raisins, Cane's chicken?
Raising Cane's, it's a franchise.
No, where's
They
that?
just opened a new one in Vancouver, but they have one at Pioneer Mall downtown,
Oh,
and
okay.
I really want to try it, so I was just gonna ask
Okay.
you if you've been there, but I've never been.
Is it
It's just
what's
like fast
special?
food.
Okay.
It's like Popeyes or
Oh, okay.
something.
All right. We need more of those, I think. No, I didn't. I
I told you it was a bad
no, I
question,
think
but
it's one of those things where it's like new things keep popping up and then I don't even know
can't
about
keep
them.
up. Yeah, yeah. I
I
did.
follow the Oregonian. It's not in there, so I guess I didn't pay
Okay,
attention to
okay,
it.
okay. Um, Here's another random one. This one I have never asked anybody.
Oh,
It's kind of an
okay.
experimental
You're popping the cherry.
joke, I guess. Yeah. I wrote this down probably when I was high too, but do you ever feel bad for the router or some kind of I can't even say this. Do you ever feel bad for the router or some kind of equipment that's like in your garage when it's super hot or cold?
Okay, do I
Like
ever
do you
feel bad
pers
for like
personify
yeah, I mean,
objects in wild temperatures?
I think I mostly do it for animals and people, but yeah, I definitely
Let's say like there's like there's none of those
yeah.
creatures around or whatever.
But
Because I
like
just start to feel bad for objects sometimes, and I'm like, why am I
you're like, "Oh, it's really hot out there. That poor broken down slide in my garage."
something? Yeah, and maybe it's because I grew up like building computers, and so I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh, this piece of equipment or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I I want to say no, but also I probably have. Like I've probably been like,
Okay,
"Wow, it's really hot out there. I wonder if that device is gonna make it."
or just something. Yeah, I don't know.
Like a Tamagotchi. I'm like, "That poor Tamagotchi is being melted right
Yeah.
now."
Do you still have one of those? I wish I
No.
had. I used to have like four. All right, I had a Yoda one, I had a dinosaur, and then I think I had one more.
My
But
sister had one, but I think by the time I was old enough to like play with it, I think it had died at that point. Like it just the batteries were
the
dead
pet.
on it.
Okay,
Like I
yeah.
don't think I really got to do the Tamagotchi.
What was your nostalgic jam, like your toy thing growing up?
Oh,
Did you have a
um,
Furby or something like
oh,
that?
I did have a Furby. I dropped my Furby in the toilet.
Really?
Yeah, it
I
was that Furby went through a lot.
Did you do the same thing that because I had one and I was like, this is gonna be so fucking cool, and I got it, and then like a week later, I was so annoyed that I put it because you had to put it on its face or whatever to like shut it up.
Yeah, you had to like hit the little sensor scanny thing or
Something, and I
something.
just put it. It was like under my bed like that, just so I'm like, I don't want to hear it for now. But then once in a while, you'd like wake it up and be like, oh hey,
Yeah, I
remember?
think I would accidentally wake up my Furby. It was green. I don't remember what I called it or anything, but like I definitely my sister had a Furby as well. We got them for like Hanukkah is
Okay.
what when we got our Furbies or something. Hers was like black and white, mine was green. I think I when I dropped mine in the toilet, it like glitched a lot or
Mm.
something, so I just slowly stopped playing with my Furby. I was really into Beanie Babies.
You have a collection?
I did. I don't I think I'm sure my mom got well, no, my mom probably didn't get rid of it, but like I had a lot of stuffed animals. I had too many stuff. Like
Okay.
at a certain point, I put all of them in trash bags, and it took like 5 trash bags.
And
Um,
you threw them away, or
no, I just put them in the trash
okay,
bags to store them.
okay.
We were poor.
Just give me like, damn, you
We didn't
just
have containers.
okay.
But yeah, so I had a bunch of we had a bunch of Beanie Babies, and I had a green one, and I named it Dudley, and I would chew on its leg.
Deadly Beanie Baby, nice.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a
Why
little
would you
green
chew on the
dog. Well,
leg?
'cause I it was like me stimming, like
It
I
was a
it was like an
nervous
80
habit.
well, it
Yeah.
was like an ADHD thing, I think, and so, like, I would just chew on his leg to the point that, like, my mom had to, like, put on a little patch to it and sew it.
Nice.
But yeah, I had that guy. I named him Dudley because of Dudley from Harry Potter, and
I don't remember that character, but I haven't. I saw all the movies.
it
I
was his
read the first two
cousin.
books, but
Dudley was his cousin
oh,
who was
oh,
mean to
that's right.
him.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my friend Christy named him Dudley, and I was like, Dudley it is,
Okay.
because I am a people pleaser. But yeah, so I we had those.
I thought maybe they were, or I don't know if I heard this, but I thought they were like making a comeback. Beanie Babies. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. I did watch that that Max documentary about them. And that was really interesting because like we had so many Beanie Babies and we probably could have made so much money off of
That's what I
them,
was thinking. You
but
probably could have sold that thing or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. My mom moved, so I'm guessing at a certain point she must have gotten rid of them, but also she's a hoarder, so who knows?
Oh, well, that's interesting. This is another weird one that I have never asked anybody, but I have a lot of like medication oriented ideas.
Hmm.
I would love to have my own pharmaceutical company and do my own testing here,
Well, you do
Southeast.
look like you would like make your own drugs.
Yeah, I make some. I make some shit. This is one of them, but like, actually, I don't know. This is related to one. But anyway, I was looking at my dog the other day, and I think it'd be cool if my entire body was made out of like what dogs' noses are made out of, that like black kind of like foamy nose
Okay.
material. Does
Okay.
that sound appealing to you at all?
So would you take a drug and it would just occur on your
I
body
haven't.
or?
I just like I said, this one actually isn't the drug related. The drug related one I have is that I was looking at my dog's nose one time, and I was thinking I would love to live a booger free lifestyle. This is another booger idea, um,
Okay.
and actually my friend who's a veterinarian shot this idea down. But I was like, dogs don't get boogers. This was my
That's
observation.
they just their noses drip.
Yeah, it's somewhere like snot. But
Yeah.
I was thinking if we could harness that technology from their nose
Hmm.
and then put that into a pill, so you
Okay.
could live a booger-free
Well,
lifestyle.
the reason why you have boogers is because bacteria gets into your
I know.
nose and
This is what my doctor friend, she's like, yeah, but you need the boogers and
yeah, like
stuff.
that's it's like dirt and debris to get to like, and that's the thing is like, everybody goes through that like we went through like those trends where it's like get rid of all the hair on your body and
Yeah.
then you do that and then you're like I wonder why I have a yeast infection
Yeah,
right now and it's
right.
like because all of the debris got trapped in that that's the job of hair and like wax and everything so it's like I mean I get it but maybe if there's a way that you could get rid of the debris where you don't even notice it or something and then live a booger free life I
Booger-free
guess.
life, yeah. Because like another one I have, I think I brought this up on the show, is like a pill that would basically compress all of your number twos, your BMs into 1 day a year.
That sounds
But it
terrible.
would be a horrible day. You take that day off work. But the rest of the year, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go number two at all.
That sounds like you're gonna
But
die.
you could have like intestinal blockage or something. But that's a
That's
risk.
exactly what would
That's a
happen. You
risk
would
you
be
gotta take.
filled with shit.
Yeah.
You'd be filled.
I'm still testing it
I
out.
saw this guy a really long time ago at an open mic, and he was doing a bit about how he cannot shit.
Really?
Like he had to have like surgery because it went up into his intestines and
Oh
everything
wow, wow.
because he could not shit. And it's like that sounds awful.
Okay. I'm getting rave reviews of my ideas here. No.
Honest feedback. I'm like the comment section of Yelp.
Another one I had, this isn't really medication too, but I'm like you were saying the hair thing.
Yeah.
I've said at work a lot. I'd be like, because my eyelashes always just fall out. I can pull out
Yeah.
like a bunch. And so I'm like, I just want these removed. Like, just eyelash free life,
Like that episode of SpongeBob where he's like, "What's this sweater made out of?" Eyelashes.
And then, yeah, I probably look pretty weird, I guess,
Well,
you
if you
know.
keep pulling out your eyelashes, they will eventually stop coming in.
Really?
Yeah, because
You'll have a time.
you're pulling out the follicles and
Okay.
you're damaging the follicles. So if you keep pulling out your eyelashes, then you're just because like my eyes get really like I can't wear like makeup anymore because my eyes are so irritated.
Mm,
So I'm on that algorithm of TikTok too about like what to do for my eyes and like what they recommended was get like an eye roller because you're basically why your eyelashes are like irritating you is because like you have so much oil in your eye like
mm.
in your eyelids. So if you like take like an eye roller and like heat it up and like then like roll it onto your eye, you're like forcing out all of the debris and you're like cleaning your eyes and then your eyes are less irritated, but you have to do it like they recommend washing your eyes every night, which I don't do. But like
Hmm.
I try to like do like the eye roller every like 1 to 2 weeks sort of
And
thing.
the roller's the little brush thing that we're talking about.
No, it's like a little it's kind of like those little rollers that like people were like buying during the pandemic for like their skin. Like it's like a little
I don't know if
I'm trying
is
to
it like a lint roller but smaller, kind of, or
No, it's like it's either it can either be like glass, it can be metal, it can be
hmm.
ceramic. I'm trying to what is it? It's a jade roller. Like
Okay.
you put them in the freezer and like you roll them on and it helps with like inflammation and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so you can do the same thing but like heat it up and then roll it on your eye and then it's like the same concept of like taking a warm washcloth and putting it over your eyes for a few minutes to
Okay.
like bring all the like
Hmm.
stuff to the surface.
Like I said, I'm so bad about that stuff. I'm probably gonna look in 10 years like I'm like 80 years old or something. Um,
Maybe 50, maybe
yeah.
50.
um, what's the TikTok algorithm telling you about hair? Because since I've had long hair for a couple years
Hmm.
now, like I basically just do my own thing of like I'll wash it every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
But I've always heard from long hair people that like that you should be going way longer. Like
So
let the oil,
so I
you know.
have naturally curly hair and I learned how to do my hair during the pandemic. And basically I go between 3 to 5 days
Okay.
basically for washing my hair. The thing is, um, I have such an intense curly hair routine that it is I just don't have the energy to do that
Yeah.
every day, obviously. And it's
That's
also
something I've
not good for
never
your
I
hair.
mine doesn't it's not I don't have to deal with the
Hmm.
curls, yeah,
But yeah, so it's
but it's a
like
lot more work. So.
But it's like you just have buildup in your hair. So I have like this like silicone brush that I use in the shower and I put like shampoo on it and like scrub it into my head. And that also helps with like um it gets the buildup off, but it also helps with like uh getting the blood vessel like
Mm,
stimulate there you go, stimulating the blood vessels and that helps with hair growth as well. Um
interesting.
but like basically you don't need to wash your hair every day, but like you need to like make sure that your scalp is clean and that's what it is. Like
That makes sense to me,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Because
like
I've had dandruff for a long time, and I don't know what to do about that. I have dandruff
the silicone
shampoo.
brush is really good for that.
Okay,
If you
it's a
if
special brush.
yeah, it's just like a little silicone. It's like a little mine is black and has like purple little silicone like little teeth
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on it and then like it's like a little tiny I don't know how
I think I've seen them. I think,
yeah, I've been using I use that and like will scrub in my hair in that way and then like because it's just dandruff is like buildup
yeah.
basically. So if you do that then because my sister has the same issue and like there's like really good dandruff shampoos that are better than others, so
Mm-hmm.
it could also just depend on the one that you're using, but
All right, I'll take those tips. Um, because like I said, I don't really, I don't follow any like of that advice or look it up or anything, and I don't know. I also am not. I'm unusual in this. That I have a TikTok account that I only access on the desktop at my work.
I didn't even know you could do
I know,
that.
right?
I just learned
I've
yesterday
never
that
had
you
it
can
on my
upload things
phone.
on Instagram from a desktop.
Yeah.
That's new to me.
Like sometimes I had to do it yesterday because my Instagram app kept crashing every time I went into the
Mm,
messages. So
yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I'll just use the browser. But I don't know. Let me see here. Is there anything you want to say about your? Actually, before I do that, do you have any shows coming up that you want to plug?
Yeah, I have a show.
Because I'll probably put this out on Wednesday
Yeah,
this
so
week.
I have two shows on Saturday. I'm gonna sorry, pull out my phone.
Yeah.
Very professional.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I'm doing a show in Vancouver at Under Bar at
Oh
7
yeah.
p.m. It's called Just
I know that
Friends.
place. Yeah. I work in downtown Vancouver. So yeah.
So yeah, I'll be at Underbar and then I have another show called Queer AF and that is at Covert Cafe over off of 82nd, like
Okay.
Morrison, and that's a 9 p.m. show and
Is that
that's also on Saturday.
okay? So you got two on Saturday.
Yeah, so those are the two shows that I have on Saturday, but
Yeah, so go check those out. Yeah.
yeah, but
Um,
not this Saturday, not today, but next
right. This
Saturday.
would
Yeah.
be like August 3rd or something
Yeah,
or
August
yeah,
3rd.
okay. I was just thinking, do you prefer like a earlier or later? Is 9 o'clock later for you or is that earlier?
Um I think most of the shows lately start between like 7 to 9, so I just will take
Just whichever. Okay.
whatever is available.
I was just curious. Yeah. Tell me about your Northwest story. Like, did you grow, or you grew up in Colorado? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I grew
Okay.
up in Colorado. So I moved here literally the day after graduating high school.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I got my diploma, which was not my diploma. They sent that later. I got my diploma, and my sister and her husband had been living here since December of 2012.
Okay.
And I essentially, basically, my sister was like, you should live here with us instead of going to college in Colorado. Because I got accepted to CU Boulder, but I got accepted late. So I didn't qualify for FAFSA. So it was going to be like 20K,
Mm.
which I did not have. So my sister was like, come live with us here and you can go to community college and we'll let you live with us rent free. Which is a great deal for Portland.
Yeah.
So basically, the day after graduating high school, they had driven out in my sister's truck. She and her husband, and basically, we just packed up all of my shit, and then we drove back the next day. And I think it took like 24 hours or something because it's a long drive. And then I just moved in with them, and here for I lived with them for like 3.5 years, and then we convinced our other sister to move out here, and then I just
So you
never
got all
left.
the siblings.
All the siblings are out
Okay.
here. Yeah, we all
That's
live.
funny.
I live
That's
with my middle sister currently.
okay. That's pretty much what I did, except we all started in Oregon. It was just like a
Hmm.
small town. But yeah, all my siblings were already up here, and I did the same exact thing because one of my siblings was like, "Hey, just stay on my couch for
It's
three or
great.
3 months or whatever," and
That's what nepotism's for, right?
yeah. And then I consequently passed that along. A lot of my friends did that because I got my
Hmm.
own apartment. I'm like, just stay with me until you get your own place, and it
Yeah.
just kind of
You started your own
paid it
Airbnb,
forward or something. Yeah.
your own free Airbnb.
This sadly, this was long before Airbnb, but it's one like I don't know. I love that era of like this was like 2006 to
Hmm.
8 when like phones weren't like these smartphones and it was just like that
Yeah.
shitty phone time. I kind of like that era of
I
like
had a flip phone for a while, and then I had like a full keyboard phone,
oh
but
you
it
got
was
the
an
yeah the
iPhone.
keyboard one yeah
Yeah, it was small. It was like a little orange one, and it had all the keys on it. It was really great because I didn't have to do the other. I can't think of the name of what it.
T9
T9.
yeah
Yeah,
I'm actually still it's weird how you remember that like I can still do it.
well, so I was like looking at some memes on Instagram the other day, and somebody was like, the Gen Zs will never understand or something, and they had like written something out using the coding of it, and I couldn't remember it. And then I looked at like a comment about how it worked, and I was like, oh shit. And then I remembered exactly how to do
Yeah,
it, and I
it's like
could read
riding a
it
bike.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I've seen some people are going back to the flip phone now, which is like,
Yeah, they have like the I think the Razor.
yeah,
There's a new Razor and
yeah,
stuff.
there's a
And
new razor.
what are you, an iPhone
I'm
person?
an iPhone.
Okay,
I'm an Apple all the way, which sucks because Steve Jobs was a terrible person.
is that right?
Yeah, no, he was a terrible person.
Like ethically,
Like ethically, he didn't want to own like he didn't want to like recognize his own daughter. He tried to like not pay alimony. He only ate fruit, and that's why he
okay.
died,
Oh wow,
because he believed in only eating fruit instead of eating
like
vegetables
a balanced
and a
diet or
balanced
yeah.
diet. That's why he died. He one time, to intimidate somebody, like he would like wash his feet in front of people as a power move, and he did it in a toilet. Like
Okay,
he was a
where
weird
where'd
dude.
you learn this from a documentary or something?
I was listening to this podcast called Behind the Bastards, and it's by this journalist named Robert Evans, and he does all of the worst people in history. Elon Musk is on there too. It's really
Mm.
fascinating,
Yeah,
but he's like
interesting.
not a good guy.
Yeah, well, it's the Steve Jobs one's interesting because yeah, he's just so revered, and I've never heard a lot of that stuff
Well,
though.
and like the dude who helped him like get Apple off the ground,
Steve
Steve
Wozniak,
Wozniak,
yeah.
he fucking treated him terribly. Steve Wozniak had a job at Intel and was like going places, and he like convinced him to quit his job at Intel and do Apple fully. And like he like got an investment, and like didn't tell Steve about the money, and he didn't give him the money, and he found out later on because Steve was talking about it in an interview or something. Like
Hmm.
he was not a good person, and like people just don't know the story, but they're like, "Oh, he created Apple and he's this good guy." And it's like, "No, he's kind of a monster."
Hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, I'm not really an Apple person, so I can't.
That's fair.
I got a Pixel and I get made fun of for that, but
I like the interface of it. It's easy and simple, and you can teach anybody how to
for
use
Apple,
it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
always been my complaint though, is because I grew up like I ran the computer club in high school and stuff,
Yeah.
and ever since then, I've always looked at Apple as like it just looks like Fisher Price to me, and it's like
Mm.
too simple.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm always also been like the rebel like software like I'll just pick
Hmm.
the one that's like not popular for.
Yeah, my dad was a PC. Like we had like an old Apple computer and then he had PCs and Windows and then I had like Windows computers, but then like I just liked how sleek and pretty the Apple
Yeah, the
products looked
design's
and
great.
like
Yeah,
like I was just like I'm an Apple user and that's what I still am.
yeah. I shouldn't say I have to like I have a MacBook here. And I've always had to use it for work because as a video producer, like
Yeah.
everyone is on Macs usually. But yeah, um, I'm gonna get into some of these rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do it.
I always end with these food questions, and they're not all food, but I also
I like food.
just added one before you got here because I sneezed pretty hard. And do you enjoy a good sneeze? I think it feels good sometimes.
I say ow after I sneeze, but I have a really hard sneeze.
Hmm.
I can soften it, but like if I'm like alone at home, I've sneezed so loud that people in other parts of the house have been like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
I have my mother's sneeze, which makes me feel very weird.
You
So
got your mom sneeze.
yeah, no, like there are times where I'll sneeze and then I'll just be like, "Does that sound like mom?" And my sister will be like, "No." But like obviously it did. So well, I probably the reason why you like a sneeze is because they say it's like one fourth of an orgasm.
Mm.
So that's,
Yeah, it is kind of similar.
I
Yeah.
think I liked sneezing a lot when I was a kid. I actually did this as a bit one time, but like when I was a kid, I think I was undiagnosed for so long that like I just like would do these weird things and had no idea why. And I would take my mom's vibrator and put it on my nose to
What?
make me sneeze. And I would do that
Okay.
for a while and like I don't remember how I found out, but my mom saw me doing it one day and she's like, "Stop doing that. Stop using that."
And you didn't know what this was
I didn't
then?
know what it
Okay,
was. I
yeah.
just knew that like when I put it on my nose, it would make me sneeze. And I just thought it was really funny. I thought it like, so I just would do it a lot. And then like one day she saw me doing it and she's like, "Stop doing that." And then I had to figure out other ways to make myself sneeze after that because I couldn't use her
Yeah.
vibrator anymore.
That's funny that that even worked though. Like,
Because it's the stimulation, because I would put it like because if you hit like a certain
it's like
point on
this
your
thing.
nose, it can
Yeah.
make you sneeze. So like
Mm.
I would put it there and then I would sneeze. So it's like the same thing where it's like if you put pepper in your nose, like you can make yourself sneeze sort of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, I have a similar one because sometimes people like I usually also have a triple sneeze.
hmm.
I would say at least 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But it will scare people. Like if
Yeah.
people don't know, they'll be like, "What?" Like
They're like, "Are you
it's
okay?"
unusually loud for me,
Yeah.
but yeah, I enjoy a good sneeze. I kind of mentioned this before we started, but do you have any serial killer traits? And I'll tell you some of mine. I usually shower completely in the dark, which people think is
What?
weird. And I also sleep with socks on, which people think is disgusting.
I don't think that's a serial killer thing. I think that I would sleep with socks on, but I would kick them off when I was a kid, so that's why
Yeah.
I don't sleep with
Yeah.
socks on. Um, That's very fun. I used to have a joke that I did about how like I would just ask the audience, I'd be like, "Do you think that serial killers think about finding other serial killers in their shower?" And that was the joke. Um, my serial killer, I'd say I've been working on it a lot, but I think I probably had stalker tendencies
Okay.
more so.
You said love bombing earlier. Is that kind of what you meant?
Well, I I think I got really obsessed very easily, which makes sense because I hyperfixate on a person. So I dated this guy who I think I was like 22 at the time. He was 26. I found out like after our first date that he was married and getting a divorce
Oh.
and like he seemed like he really liked me and we were getting along really well. And then his divorce started to finalize and then he just kind of disappeared and I like kind of lost it and got really obsessed and like would go to his work because I knew
Oh,
where he
yeah.
worked and I would
Yeah.
go and get a cup of coffee because he worked at a coffee shop and then I would walk past the other coffee shop that he worked at. So that was a little, and then like I found a shirt that he like let me borrow one time, and I was like, I should return this. And then I drove to his house to return the shirt, and then I saw him and freaked out and jumped back in my car and didn't return the shirt. So I'd say that's probably more
Okay.
stalker tendencies, but I don't think I have it in me to like murder. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you would, but just weird shit that,
Yeah, like that sort of thing. I think stalker tendency probably would be
I
the
think that's a good one.
closest.
Yeah.
Like baby reindeer kind of shit, probably more
I
likely.
also think it might be more common. I think that might be like an age because I probably did some shit like that when I
Yeah.
was in my 20s, and now I'm just like I was an idiot. Like what the hell was
Like
I?
now I wouldn't do that. I would probably just like look up their I think I also like found his dad's LinkedIn sort of thing. And like you
Yeah,
know how LinkedIn would tell you back then, they're like so and so looked at your like I'm sure his
yeah,
dad was like,
yeah.
some girl named Danielle was looking at my LinkedIn. Do you know her? It's sort of thing. But
I
now that
think
I've gotten older, I'm like less stalkery, I think.
yeah. I was just thinking. I think that's also common with like any partner that you have that's very puppy love. Like you're super serious, and then maybe you're just
Yeah, but
young about it.
it was like 3 weeks.
But see, when you're young, that's like forever.
Yeah. But
Or it's a long time, I
I mean,
guess.
I've never had a serious relationship, so I think every time I'd like think I'm on the cusp of it, I would become very obsessed with it because of that. And then it'd be like, oh, it didn't happen. And then like I would become more obsessed with it because I'm like, oh, I have to figure out why it
Yeah,
didn't work, you know, that sort of thing. And like I think as you get older, you're just kind of like, it didn't work. Let's move on.
yeah. It's a lot easier, yeah, to do
Yeah.
that. I was gonna say I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I went on. You mentioned LinkedIn. I went on a
Yeah.
date with a girl I met on LinkedIn, and
Oh,
I'm. It's gonna make me sound weird, but she reached out to me first,
okay.
and she was like, "Let's grab coffee," which is kind of weird. Like I
I
know
mean, it's LinkedIn. I think it's making a
I know
connection.
I network a lot. I don't do that
Yeah.
anyway, but like but it basically became a date. Like
Yeah.
and then we went to like Blazer games, we went to bars and
Hmm.
stuff, and she would come to my house and all that stuff. But
So
I
you
just
were dating her
I mean
from
I went on like
LinkedIn?
I don't know 3 or 4 dates.
Okay.
And then it like completely soured, and she came to my work, kind of like you were just talking about. She came because she borrowed some DVDs and she came to my work and just gave them to me like this. Didn't say anything, just returned it. One of them was like a Robin Williams stand up. But it was just the most awkward thing. And I don't know why. I think she felt like I was too clingy, like wanting to get further
Hmm.
along in the
Yeah.
relationship. But I just always thought that was funny that I had like a LinkedIn
That is funny. Well, Bumble
short
has
thing.
Bumble BFF, Bumble Business, and then Bumble Dating. And so, like, I think it's really complicated because it's like you could think that you're just meeting somebody for business, but Bumble is also used as a dating app. So, like, you
Yeah,
could get the lines crossed for sure.
totally. Yeah. But I don't know. It was fun. She worked in radio. I was, working TV for a long time. But anyway, all right. Let's see here. I saw you pull up in here, but when you normally park, do you pull in or do you back in?
I pull in.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't.
that's kind of a normal person
It's
thing.
too hard for me. Like, I have people who do that in my life, and I'm just like, that just seems like more work.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
could just turn your head and back out.
Yeah. I think most people probably do that. Which piece of fruit do you think you could throw the farthest if you just threw a piece of fruit across a football field?
Hmm. I feel like a banana, if like you get the right
Mm-hmm.
trajectory, like, 'cause it's like a boomerang
Mm-hmm.
sort of shape.
I agree. I always say the banana. Do you
I
like?
I think an apple if I want to hurt somebody.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think about? I was just looking this up yesterday with a coworker, but apple sounds so stupid. Apple versus pears. Do you have a preference? I
Um,
feel like they're so similar.
I think I like apples. I think apples can be sweeter, and I like a sweet apple. Um, Pears are really tough sometimes because people don't know how to eat it, like how a pear is ripe, and so
That's exactly what I was going to ask. 'Cause I like them nice and soft, and
yeah.
I know some people who like them like the opposite, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
what are you
And I
doing?
think an apple, you already kind of know what you're getting when you
Exactly.
maybe flavor you might not know,
Yeah.
but like,
You don't have the range of ripeness
yeah.
or the softness
I
or
walk by
whatever.
a pear tree every day and I'm just waiting for them to get to the level that I feel ready to
Mm,
steal a pear, you know?
okay. Do you like crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Or maybe
Smooth.
okay.
I'll choke on the country.
What about do you I'm gonna make a guess, but do you like stir no stir? I'm guessing you like the oil kind.
I grew up with the oil kind. We would put it, my mom would buy it and then she'd put it upside down in the fridge.
Ooh, I've actually never
Um,
heard that technique.
so I think I think probably oil. I just will just eat whatever peanut butter my sister buys at this point, which
Okay.
is some organic peanut butter.
Okay. I also learned recently that I didn't even know you could do this, but you can just grind it yourself at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do
Did you
that.
know that powdered sugar is literally just sugar that's been ground up?
Actually, no, I didn't know that.
I learned that from
They
watching a TikTok.
they just grind it with like a something. I don't
You
know.
could put it in a coffee grinder and just watch it
Okay.
grind, and then it becomes powder. I
Yeah,
did
I
it.
actually never knew that.
Yeah, because I got like French toast somewhere and it didn't have any powdered sugar on it. And I was at home and I was like, well, I don't want to open up this bag of powdered sugar because it's a brand new bag. I'll just
So you
make it
just
myself.
grind it up.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite type of French fry? Do you like crinkle cut, regular cut,
I like a string, like a shoestring
shoestring?
French
Okay.
fry. Like I like them thin. If it's too thick, it feels chalky in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's too thick, then it's probably not seasoned.
Do you think I get pushback on that? Do you think a tater tot is a French fry? I think it's a French fry.
No, I think it's its own thing.
Okay, that's fine.
Because you
It's
don't,
not part of the family.
you're like, do you want French fries or do you want tater tots? If they were French fries, they would just be a part of
Okay.
the French fry.
It comes down to shape, is what you're saying.
Well, I think there's onions in tater tots too.
Is there?
I think
It's
so.
like they cook caramelized onion or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I guess that would be different. Let's say you're getting ice cream, salt and stir or something. Do you go waffle cone, regular cone, cup?
Echo cup.
Okay, me too. I
I
like the simplicity of
I
it.
like the cup because
There's
like
no
if
mess.
I also might not finish it, so then I can just put it in the freezer. But if you get a cone, you have to finish it. And I never finish ice cream
Really?
like in one setting.
Okay. That's very like conservationist of you.
It's too sugary and like I get like a stomach ache, especially if it's like actual dairy versus like a vegan ice
Yeah.
cream. My favorite vegan ice cream right now is just like Ben and Jerry's fish food.
Okay. That's one of their classic flavors, I
It
think,
was one
right?
of my favorites as a kid, but now it's just without the dairy and it's delicious. So
Yeah.
melts faster
I
too.
can understand the sugar thing. I've actually been doing for about 2 or 3 weeks like a lower sugar diet
Hmm.
because I was basically forced to because I have self-diagnosed myself with gout because I've
Oh, that's
been
fun.
drinking. I think it's because of all the beer that I drink, but so I don't drink beer anymore and I'm doing low sugar and my gout pain went away immediately.
That sounds accurate.
But it's crazy because like I drink all these like no sugar beverages
Hmm.
and you can first of all, I don't taste the difference of like the fake sugar anymore,
Yeah.
but also um you just the sugar spikes kind of in your life just kind of go away. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it just feels more balanced and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Maybe just eat more apples.
Yeah, I guess. It's
Just
not
don't
my
make that your
favorite.
only diet.
It's not, yeah, it's not my favorite fruit, but I don't mind an apple.
Or cherries, peaches.
Yeah, those are good. Um, do you eat string cheese? Do you like string cheese?
I do like string cheese. I don't eat it very often because it's a lot of packaging, and I live with a very environmentally friendly person. So I try to buy less packaging because I don't want to be judged.
It's not
But
you, it's your
it's my sister.
sibling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
okay.
sister, she's very environmentally friendly, and so like we're very low waste in the house. Like I make my own oat milk,
Yeah.
sort of thing because she didn't like the containers and
It's interesting because I'm not for a different reason.
hmm.
I'm always thinking about the microplastics and
Well,
stuff
that too, yeah.
that's getting in your body, but
Yeah, it's the trash and because it goes because recycling is fake
yeah,
and like you can put it in a recycling bin, but it's just gonna end up in the trash in a landfill.
yeah. The only thing they can
So
really recycle, I think, is aluminum. Otherwise,
I
it's
think glass you can
a glass.
reuse
Yeah, you're
too,
right.
but
Yeah.
and paper, but like the thing is like the way plastic, we just have so much plastic.
So
So
yeah,
it's like,
there's a lot of plastic.
and there's, what are you gonna do? Buy a metal string cheese case? Like,
Yeah,
so I don't.
reusable string cheese.
But the way what I would do as a kid is we would buy the string cheese and like there was like a very specific flavor of like the mozzarella that I liked of the string cheese, so I would only buy one specific kind. I think it started with like a stringello or something. It started with like an S. It had like a red
I know what you're talking
packaging.
about, Sargento or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
the
So we would get those, and then I would buy like the olive oil, garlic Triscuits, and then I would just
oh, okay.
rip them apart and put them on top of that and eat it.
That sounds actually pretty
It
good.
was pretty good. That's how I ate it in like middle school.
I am gonna throw some shade at that though because I've never said it on the show, but I think Triscuit is probably the worst
People don't like
cracker.
Triscuits, but I think it's because they eat the plain ones that have no flavor. But
Yeah,
if you get the ones that have flavor,
seasoning and stuff.
yeah. But I also like a good like buttery cracker, like a Ritz
Yeah,
cracker.
my complaint is it's too, and I'm kind of talking out of my ass with this because I like crunchy peanut butter, but it's too crunchy. The
That's fair.
Triscuit.
I definitely have cut my mouth a lot on Triscuits.
Hmm.
I I get it. That's fair.
How do you feel? This is just thought of this, but how do you feel about chicken and a biscuit? Do you like that cracker?
Chicken and biscuits?
That cracker, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I've had it.
Okay. It's like a Nabisco cracker, but it's just,
It tastes like
it's
chicken
supposed
in a
to taste like
cracker.
chicken, I guess, but it's really just like, yeah, like onion powder or something like that.
So
And
it's ramen.
yeah,
Ramen in a
there's
cracker.
probably a lot of sodium, but it is pretty good. I've just always thought the name is funny. It's like when I was a kid, I thought,
Well, it's like chicken of the sea, you know?
yeah, or those, oh God, I'm trying to remember what they're, you know, those little peanut butter candies that are like in a see-through wrapper, Chick a Stick. Have you ever had those? You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
People know what I'm talking about. Google it or just pull up an image. But like, I used to think that was made out of chicken when I was a kid, just because
I
of the
get it with the
name.
name. That's
Yeah.
fair. If you're like
Anyway,
putting those, I could see that. I would associate those two together for sure.
but yeah. Anyway, the string cheese thing I always ask because do you peel it or do you just eat it?
I peel it.
Okay. That's like 90% of people do that. I just eat it because I like cheese and I just want. But people always like it's in the name. It's part of the experience. You
It
gotta
just this just reminds me of that episode of The Office where Ryan is just like taking a bite of it, and then Toby's like, "Wow, you just really went in there." And he's like, "Yeah, I found as I get older, I just, I don't need to go through all the fuss to get through the
exactly,
cheese." But
exactly.
it is the fun of it. Like it's like that's why it's like a kid snack where you just like you're
Yeah,
peeling. But I think what it is string cheese is just a neurodivergent treat.
yeah.
And I think
That's
that
actually a good
is probably why
description.
I liked it so much
Yeah,
as a kid.
yeah. I would agree with that. Okay, I kind of gone through these. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we wrap it up here?
Um, Maybe just follow my
Yeah. How do you
Instagram.
follow you? Yeah.
Yeah, my Instagram is making you laugh underscore maybe. And I have my TikTok with that name too. And then I also have another TikTok that's just at Danielle Porter.
Okay.
Because I have a comedy one and then I have just like a fun one that I have. And then if anybody needs any social media work or
Yeah.
I do a little bit of video editing too. So if anybody needs anything like short reels or anything like that,
Just hit you up on
yeah, just hit me up on my
any of those.
Instagram and
Okay.
I will probably take the job because I need a job.
Yeah. And I would, yeah, vouch for that because you seem like you know what you're doing with social media, at least more than me. So,
I'm trying. I'm learning a lot while I do it and
yeah,
just kind of figuring it out as I go. But there's a lot of information out there, and I'm trapped in this algorithm on my Instagram of hooks and how to do social media and everything. And I've learned a lot from doing that. So
all right. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming today.
yeah,
And
thank you. This was fun.
yeah, we'll see you soon.